everyone, it's Crystal, the host of Crystal Spot Podcast. I'm super excited today to introduce you to our guest, Jen Joe. Jen is a business mentor for introverted coaches who would rather be off living their life than spending countless hours posting on social media or DMing strangers. And as we always talk about, social media can be so complicated for a lot of us as we're trying to grow and scale businesses and do all the other things that women do in their lives. She teaches them how to lean into what's natural for them and use their proven method, which is called impact, to help them, even the most introverted person, gain the skills and confidence to fill their calendars with paying clients. Thank you so much, Jen, for being on our show today.
Thank you, Crystal, for having me.
Yeah, so just tell us a little bit about you and your business and kind of how you got started with this.
Well, my background is actually in education. So I was everything from a teacher to an assistant principal to a teacher trainer and curriculum writer. And I loved teaching when I was actually doing the work of teaching, but then there became this aspect of a lot of the administrative work and the back end stuff and the constant requests. And there was a pivotal moment when I was at a conference with colleagues. And there was a colleague, she was so excited to attend some of these sessions. And she was like, oh, I know this speaker and I have their book and they have this theory on this. And I was sitting there and I was like, that's not how I feel right now. I feel like it's no longer what I'm supposed to be doing. And I had felt like that for a while. So I had already worked with a coach, right? I had hired a coach to help me figure out what I wanted to do. And in that relationship, it was clear I wanted to be a coach myself. It was clear to her, not so much to me. She told me, I was like, yeah, I don't think that's what it is. So it took me a little while to kind of come around to it and realize like, yeah, I do want to be a coach. Like I do want to help people achieve their goals. And eventually I finally got started. I'm very much an introvert. So it was very hard to get started. So we had to kind of baby step my way up into it. So it started with a blog and just like, sharing my journey and my thoughts, and hopefully people would read the blog. Nobody read the blog. But it got me comfortable with putting myself and stuff out there, right?
Right.
Then it to become a meetup group that I used to host monthly events. And then I would host these brunches and like goal setting brunches and help women set their goals and help them, work towards that and make connections. Then it became a Facebook group. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm ready to promote my services because I had been certified. I had practiced a little bit, but it was a journey for sure. It was really a struggle. But finally, once I did get over that hump of getting comfortable telling people that this is what I was doing and signing clients, I mean, my first dollars in 2019 literally made less than $2,000. And I had declared that the next year I was quitting my job and going full-time in coaching. I was like, I found my thing, right? And that's exactly what happened, actually. The pandemic did delay the process a little bit, in that we were working from home and my plans to live abroad at that time were canceled completely. My one-way ticket to Colombia was like, nope, you're not going anywhere. So I ended up staying in Houston where I was living at the time, a little longer than I planned, but eventually I did quit that job and did move abroad. I ended up in Mexico where I live now, where I coach coaches.
I love that. And I love what you were saying. Someone saw something in you that you didn't see, and you took that leap of faith. How did that conversation come about with your coach who said, I think you should look at doing coaching? And how did you overcome imposter syndrome that some of us get, or a lot of us?
Big time. So I described a vision that I had because I didn't have the language for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I even knew about coaching was because I was into personal development. So I read a lot of personal development books, and coaching, getting a coach was a common theme. I didn't know what that would look like. I just knew that was my next step. So I did that to help me, one, with my relationship goals. Like I wanted to be in a relationship, and to help me figure out what to do next in my career. So I described, I had this dream, and this is the first person I told this to was the coach. I had this dream and I was helping like a group of women. We were in a circle and I was like helping them with their goals. And that's what I really want to be doing. And I felt like it was silly. Like, who does that? Like, that's not a real thing that you do. I'm in education. Like, I train teachers and I write curriculum. But here I was telling her that I wanted to do this. And she was like, that's coaching. And I was like, no, you just listen to all my problems. That's not the same thing.
You were conflating coaching with therapy.
Yes, yes. But eventually, she was like, well, why don't you just start a blog, just get started sharing your journey and what kind of goals you've achieved and how
Mhm.
you. So I created Living Out Goals at the time, and I was like, okay, this is what I did, and I just want to encourage other people to do this. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to help people, like really have that one-on-one relationship with them and guide them through this process. But I felt like an imposter. So I did what all of my clients do. It's like, oh, let's go get some education. So we no longer feel like an imposter. That's the process I've been through all my life. Education, just get more education, more credibility, right? Air quotes. Um, and I was like, okay. So I went and found a certification program and I did that. It was an intensive program. And even before going into the program, I was like, what book do I need to read? Tell me all the things so I can be prepared. Right. And I read the book and I went into the course and I was like, okay, I don't really feel like that was like the best use of my time. But now I have that stamp of approval. Right. Left it and still didn't feel more confident. And that's
Mm.
hit me. I was like, oh, every one of us, right? Me and those other coaches in the world that are struggling to grow their business. We think that's the solution. Like we will go get certified and then somehow the clients will magically appear and we will feel magically ready to coach them now that we did this. And having a background in curriculum and instruction and training adults and teaching, effective methods to gain people's confidence in the classroom, I was like, there were things missing in that program and I'm going to close that gap. And eventually I closed that gap for myself, right? And I figured out a way to give myself the practice that I feel the program did not give me, the real world practice, to reflect on what was working and what wasn't, to invest in the things that were missing to be an effective business owner. It wasn't just the education of coaching. It was, I'm growing a business, right? So that believing that that one course was somehow going to give me everything I needed was flawed. I was flawed in my thinking. So once I closed those gaps for myself and I saw my business growing, right? 2019, I made my first dollars, like it clicked.
Yay.
And 2020, I worked maybe 10 hours max. And that was like towards the end of the year, 10 hours per week. It was usually less than that. And I made like 40,000 just working part-time at that time. I was like, okay, I'm onto something. I definitely figured something out. And it's only grown ever since then. And I helped other coaches do the same thing because I was like, there's something people aren't telling you. And I'm just going to tell them so that they can get these results because the transformation that has occurred in my life through me becoming a coach is immense and I am so grateful for it. And I'm like, other people need this. They need to have this. I want them to experience it. If they want to become coaches, then I want them to find a way to make it work because too many people leave because they don't close that gap.
I love that. Because I think you're right. A lot of people who have a servant's heart and want to help and really help other people don't look at the business side of it. And we're kind of educated that if you want to help people, then you can't be about the business. And there's a nuanced belief that money is the root of all evil. So if you're doing it, you're just doing it to help it, but you can still be of great service and help people and coach people and run it efficiently like a business. And I've looked at some of those credential coaching classes over the years, and I think you're right. There is some missing pieces there. I mean, I own a real estate brokerage. That's my full-time gig. And yeah, I can get all the education I want, but the clients don't just magically arrive. You have to know how to get out there. So what are your things that you do when you're encouraging coaches to get out there and start marketing their business and how to make an impact? I guess I would use your word. And how do you utilize that?
So one of the things I help them understand that, yes, you do want to be of service, right? I
Mhm.
have background in education. Come on, that's serving. A
Of
lot of my,
course.
my clients also have backgrounds in like the healthcare industry, or they may be serving as therapists right now or counselors, right? And they just want to add coaching as an offer that they do. So we want to keep service at the core of what we do, but understanding that the way that we best serve our client is to be in a formal relationship with them and
Mm,
not wishy-washy way of just like, oh, when they ask for support, then I give it. Like that's not going to lead to their transformation, the ultimate transformation. And the thing is, we have a lot of thoughts about money, that exchange, that financial exchange. And when you're dealing with feelings of, am I even worthy and ready to charge because I'm not feeling quite qualified, like there's a lot of ickiness that comes with that transaction. So one, having them believe in their abilities, believe in themselves. And the way to do it is to create opportunities for them to actually step into the role of coaches, right? We're not
mm,
just talking about it in theory, which is a lot of what happens in these courses. Like, no, I want you to actually coach people, and I help them create a container where they get to do that, and we get to workshop their coaching. So they're getting feedback on it and they're improving, right? So that's number one. So once they see the results of those clients, they're like, well, maybe I can help some other people in the same way that I help this one, right? So there we're dealing with, we're tackling that imposter syndrome. We're giving them belief, right? And we're helping them want to go and support other people because now they have that certainty of I actually can make a difference in this person's life. So that understanding the value of what they're giving, right, goes way beyond just the time period that the client is with us. So my clients work with me for 6 months at a time. The results that they have are not just within that 6-month window. I am helping them set up a business, right? So like that stays with them for as long as they want it to. We've built a strong foundation that they get to continue to build, right? So understanding that the exchange is for the lifetime value, right?
Mhm.
Always feeling like my pricing is way less than what they're getting. So it's always, right? Like the exchange is like, I'm getting this much, you're getting this much. So I can feel really solid in always offering those services from a place of knowing that I'm serving you well.
Mhm. I love that. I think that's really important because a lot of us, we underprice our intellectual property. We just give, give, give. And if you think about like, there's a reason that you're gifted in that. And if you can give it to them, like you said, I may know something that's easy for me, but it can change your life. Like we really need to have a conversation about that relationship that we're going to develop over time to help continue to give you those nuggets. What would you say is the biggest difference? I kind of made it in just when I said you're coaching, in the very beginning when you're working with your coach, you're like, well, what do you mean? This is what coaching is. Like, what's the difference? And I joked like, oh, well, it's not like therapy because I promise I've had coaches over the years. I'm like, well, let me just tell you about my kids and my day. And you know what? I will say I haven't had the best coaches because they'll engage in that instead of structuring it in a way that's going to move me towards a goal. So what would you say the main difference would be between coaching and therapy?
So I'd like to describe it as therapy helps you when you are operating below the baseline. And it
Hmm.
helps you work through past things that have happened, understand that so that you can get to the baseline. In coaching, right, and coaches work with people who are already on the baseline and want to go higher, want to excel, want to hit that next level in their life, right, or their goal that they're trying to attain that they haven't. And we're more forward facing and future focused, right? So it's like what's happening now and how can we deal with what's happening now to get you to that next level that you're trying to get to in the future versus like uncovering everything in the past. And I had a client like that too. She wanted to stay in the past because that's what she knew therapy. And God bless her, love her dearly. And it took a while to kind of be like, okay, yes, that happened. Yes, that happened. How is that impacting you right now? And how is that impacting the result that you're trying to tell me that you want to create? And if
Mm.
it's a story from the past, how are we going to shift it so that that story does not continue moving forward with you? You know?
I think that's a really important nuance to recognize because so many of us, when we're looking at our business, we're like, well, how do I scale or how do I grow it or how do I do these things? Your past is trying to drag you down to that thought. And I love what you said. You're already on the baseline with coaching. Maybe you get the therapist to help you with some of the beliefs that no longer serve you, but then you get the coach to help you move forward and put
Yeah.
those beliefs behind you.
And I've
What are
had that.
some, yeah, I love that.
Had a therapist and they were still working with me.
Yes. I think that's so important. I'm a very pro therapy person. So I think a lot of us have to, figure out, especially as women, we have a lot of beliefs that we've came up with from our mothers or our grandmothers or our spouses or our partners and children and the relationships that we serve, that as we're beginning our business or entrepreneurial journey, we have to really see what voices we want to listen to anymore. And some of
Yeah.
those might just be your own. What are the pros and cons you've seen as for people that you've coached and when they're becoming entrepreneurs?
Pros and cons of entering entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Okay. Pro, right? And this was a big one for me after years in education and feeling like I was moving up the ranks. I had a lot of skill, but my income was capped,
Hmm.
right? As an entrepreneur, there's no cap.
Yeah.
So that's a pro. However, as an employee, my salary is my salary. I could phone it in all week. My check is still gonna look the same, right? As an entrepreneur, your income is based on how well you executed on the front-facing task in the
Yes.
business. How many people did you connect with? How many sales did you make, right? Um, that revenue is up to you, and that
Mm-hmm.
can fluctuate a whole lot. You can have months with zero, you can have very high months, like bigger than anything you've ever seen. So it's up to you to kind of like be okay with the fluctuation.
I would say it's the feast or famine. And
Very
I've been doing real estate for 16 years and I've been through all the markets and now we're in a whole new cycle and we eat well and sometimes you don't, but you go to bed at night knowing that the decisions you made today affect your results tomorrow. And that's kind of a key part of being an entrepreneur.
Another pro. This is like the best self-development work you will ever do. You will have to manage the heck out of your mind and time and your energy. And it's just like you got to put it all in to kind of get the results that you want and really implement those things that you've been hearing and listening to a lot of times. But it's like, no, 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 you really have to implement it now if you want to create results in your business. Um, yeah, I mean, I am a proponent of this and I love to offer this, but I do understand that it might not be for everybody, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Right? So some people like to do it part-time and like still keep their full-time jobs or keep another part-time job to supplement those moments where with the highs and lows.
Mhm. You had mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't get to that part in your bio, that you have moved out of the country. So, what are some things that you're finding working international and working outside of America, I guess I would say? Yeah.
Yeah, so I live in Mexico at the moment and I love my life here. I really do. I'm so happy with the change. However, there are things that are challenging living in another country, the way that we do things in the US and the way things or systems and structures, infrastructure is different. So you just might lose power sometimes. That
Mm.
happen, yes. Or your internet connection might not be as steady and strong 100% of the time. Little things like that. Getting to network is going to be different, of course. Fortunately, I do speak Spanish, so
Oh.
I'm comfortable in those spaces. But the understanding of coaching and where it is maybe a little more advanced in the US than it is here.
Mhm.
But my business is online, so that doesn't really
Yeah.
impact. I'm
Was
still
that
able.
one of your inspirations to go from working for the curriculum, building curriculums, to be an entrepreneur so you could travel?
Yes. I read The 4 Hour Work Week many years ago, and then I reread it in 2019, and it really sparked that fire under me that I could have this life. It like reminded me of that desire that was in me from a long time ago, and it was like, oh, coaching business is the way I'm going to do it because then I can work remotely. Because before the pandemic, I was actually physically going
Mhm.
into school buildings. I could work from anywhere. I can get paid in dollars, and I can be spending my pesos, living a fabulous life. Yeah.
I love that. I there's so many people I talk to who have this dream of traveling or, being able to start a business where they can live off of residuals or scaling it or whatever it is. And the fact that you've gone international with it, that's pretty inspiring because I don't know your age. We haven't got, but you look extremely young to have this
I'm older than
amount.
I am. I just
Good, it's the good skin.
yeah, yeah, no, 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 I'm 37.
Oh,
So,
wow. You look
yeah,
amazing.
thank
Amazing,
you.
amazing. So how can people find out more about your coaching and sign up for your curriculums? Like, tell us all of your things.
Yeah, so, on social media, I am Genjo Coaching pretty much everywhere. I'm really active on LinkedIn mostly right now. Um, you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, but as far as, like, if you wanna see content, probably LinkedIn is the spot to go. If you wanna watch more about my personal life, then you can go check out Instagram, and you'll see me traveling throughout Mexico and enjoying.
And your
Um
salsa dancing.
And I haven't really posted much about the salsa dancing,
Oh,
more part, but I need to. I need to. I'm thinking about going to a salsa conference
oh,
to just really again immerse myself deeply into it for a weekend, just because it's fun and something to do. And you can always email me at genjocoaching@gmail.com.
I love that. So I'm always asking everybody, what's their goal for this upcoming year? because we're wrapping up 2023, and what is a word for your 2024? So, for example, our word for 2023 was intentional, living our life intentionally, our time, our energy, our relationships, our money. So, what would be a word for you for 2024?
The first thing that comes to me, which is my core value, number one core value, is authenticity. And I'm
Mm,
always looking to see how can I be living more authentically. This shift of moving outside of the US was me living authentically. Like, yes, that I had the traditional life with the large home in the burbs and everything. And I was like, this is just not me, though. This is no longer what I envision future Jen's life to be.
mm,
And Jen, she was traveling, she was living abroad, and she was, meeting new people and trying new things, and that's what my life is now. So I feel like there's even another gear to hit when I'm
mm.
thinking about life authentically. So that's going to be the thing for 2024 for
I
sure.
love that. Do you have any professional goals that you want to share for 2024? How many students do you take on, and do you do one-on-one coaching?
I still do one-on-one coaching. However, I do have a group program now, which I'm really excited about. The group program is specifically for those new and aspiring coaches that want to go through my process. I am an introvert, so my process caters to introverts. However, it works for introverts as well. Um, and I keep that pretty small. I keep it to about 5 people in a session
Okay.
so that I have a daytime session, I have an evening session, and it's for 6 months. Just like my one-on-one, I'm gonna walk you through this process. And the best part is once you commit to it and you do the process, it's guaranteed to work. Like I've ran it for so many years with so many clients already that I'm like, okay, this is the process and it works. Just do the process. So it feels really good to offer that because I always want to feel like I'm giving my best to my clients because I do
Mhm.
care. I do want them to succeed, and the world needs more coaches.
Yes, they do. We all need a little bit of guidance somewhere. Thank you so much for being willing to be on the show. I really appreciate it. You're absolutely beautiful. When you got when I got your bio kid, I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. She's so pretty. And I loved all your I'll put all
Thank
your links on here, but you guys have to follow her. It's Jen Joe, and it's Jen, no two N's, Jen Joe, and she's the mentor to introverted coaches. And thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your amazing life. And I wish you the best in your travels and your business.
you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you.